Welcome to the Christian Life Coach Collective. I'm your host and coach, Laura Malone, and I'm here to help you become the hero of your own story and learn to be a guide to others. Whether you're a life coach in any niche or you want to become one, or you're just listening in so you can self-coach to lead your own life well, this podcast is here to serve you. I'm super excited to walk with you into your calling and help you create a wonderful legacy for your life. So let's jump in to today's episode. Hey friends, I have another guest today. I want to introduce you to Torance Douse. He and his wife Samantha and his 3 kids have done lots of things in ministry and missions. He's been a music teacher and a worship pastor, and he graduated from Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace University as a certified master coach. But then he discovered life coaching, and he realized that he wanted to teach people more than just how to manage money. He wanted to teach people how to change their mindsets about money and how to experience true freedom through faith in Jesus, not just the kind of financial freedom that you can see all over Facebook these days. And it's not the hustle culture, it's the trust culture. He's really into helping people, especially couples and families, determine what is their financial legacy, thinking about what their children will learn from them in the future, what their children are going to know and believe about money and God's provision. I'm loving having him inside of the Greenhouse course, and I want you to hear a little bit about what he has to say about the Greenhouse course. So if you're interested in it at all, listen to him and see why he's in there, what he's getting out of it. And then also there's tons of gold nuggets in there about your luggage and your baggage, guilt versus shame, and so much more. So let's jump in. Hey, Torance, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing good.
We can hear each other. Excellent.
Yes,
Glad you're here
awesome.
today.
Good to be here.
All right. So Torance is a coach in training inside of the Greenhouse Life Coach Training and Certification course we're doing. We're almost to the end of it, which is going to be really sad. But that
Sad,
makes
yeah.
room for everybody else to show up, and then you get to be alumni. That's very exciting. And I want to have everybody get a little bit of info from you, a little bit of your journey. I want them to hear about your exposure to coaching and your journey and your calling as a coach. So you want to start us off with a little bit of your story?
Oh yeah. So I'm from the south suburbs of Chicago. That's where I was born and raised. And yeah, so my career was in music education. I was a music teacher. But while I was doing that and I started my career in my church, they had a Dave Ramsey Financial Peace University course, and at the time I was engaged to my wife, and I was like, okay, I gotta get my money right for marriage, So I took the course, and I fell in love with just the system of personal finance, and I saw it as like a game, and that's how I started handling my finances as a single man preparing to be married, and then after I got married, now we have 2 incomes. Okay, I took the course again because I was like, oh man, I want some more of this. And then yeah, I just kind of fell in love with just running the numbers and preparing for my future, and just getting my life together, and yeah.
So that's just a good shout out for premarital financial coaching.
Absolutely. It is a must. I
Can we
cannot
tell
stress
all
it
the men
enough.
out there, all the young men especially, can you just go do this?
Oh yeah.
Help us
Yeah,
out.
it's definitely it should be required in premarital counseling. Whatever pastor is counseling you, it should be required.
Right? Add that to it. I agree with you. It's so beneficial, and I know I've coached people and known a lot of people who didn't have those conversations
Hmm.
even in the first years of marriage and just kind of like suffered through it basically, right?
Yeah.
So, but I guess that's why those people need that financial coaching. Tell us a little bit more about the kind of coaching that you are doing now. So you did some Dave Ramsey courses,
Mm-hmm.
and then what was the next step from there?
After that, there was a time where I started. I was doing all of the, the 7 baby steps and all of the tasks, and he's everybody knows him as like the debt free guy. He's all about, debt management, getting out of debt and
Right.
everything. But then I was like, okay, there's more to this. There's something underneath all of this, and there's something that's keeping people in debt. It was something that was keeping me in debt as well. Like I was just like, man, what's going on? And I met this guy, and he was kind of doing the same kind of work as I was, but he was focusing on this concept of financial shame. And that's what made me, I was like, okay, he just put the name on it of the struggle of a money mindset, that people need to have a money mindset shift to even start saving or even start seeing debt for what it is, and start looking at their own situation, and switching their minds to actually have some hope that they can do something about this. um so so that's when I started focusing more on money mindset rather than just the tasks of, okay, yeah, you have to have a budget, you have to have this debt snowball, you got to have, 3 to 6 months savings, things like that. Those are all good checkbox things, but a lot of people aren't even there yet. They can't even look at that because they have so much shame from how they're conditioned, to look at money and to look at personal finance. So that's what made the shift to me. And now I'm looking more at, okay, where's your foundation? How were you conditioned, um, as a child, looking at your parent, or things like that? Where did you get your money habits, your spending habits? Because when we really identify what those things are in your mindset, then we can get a good foundation to build on to
Right.
start doing all of the other things. Yeah.
Right. That's so good. So you had a little bit of a wilderness experience you talk
Hmm.
about.
Yeah.
Give us a little
Um,
bit more of that because I'm sure it all ties together.
oh yes. So back in 2015, my wife and I, we got the opportunity to go to England on a Christian mission, to help out a church over there. And it was one of those moves where we were trying to sell all of our stuff, and we just picked up and moved there. And it was just me and my wife, and I had a 1.5-year-old daughter. And we were planning on staying there for about 5 years, but it ended up just being 5 months. And we came back early. And at the time, we really felt a prompting from God, to not get a job. I was like, what? Sometimes you just hear those crazy things, but in the end, you see why he said that and why he directed you there. But when we came back, we were pregnant with our second child, and we named her Israel because she was born in this wilderness experience. So when we came back to Chicago. We were living with family, and while I was not having a job, I was working with my dad because he just bought a house down the street from his house, and he wanted to flip it. And it was just providential timing that I came back at that time, because he was just going to hire out everything. But he was like, "Oh, now that I have my son here, hey, I'll give you about $50 a day to come help me out." I'm like, cool. So we were living. This is, family of three, one on the way, living with family, living on about $200 to $250 a week. We had a car, we had phones, we had bills. But that $800 to $1,000 a month for a family of three, a growing family, if you look at that bank account, you probably say that we're poor in poverty.
Right.
But we were not living that way, because we had an abundant mindset. We were still able to have people over for dinner. We were still able to stay faithful in our tithes and offering and giving to the church. We were still able to keep gas in our car, keep our phones on, and we were living our lives just like we didn't skip a beat. We were living our lives just like we were making 60,000 a year. you
Yeah.
know.
And
But
because
it
you
was
kept having manna show up.
right. God just kept providing, like,
Yeah.
and there's this saying, like, if God orders it, he's gonna pay for it,
Yeah.
So we were living on very meager money, but nobody could tell because we had that mindset of abundance. Like, we had enough, we had more than enough, we had enough that we can share, but we looked at our finances and we were grateful for it, and we saw um we saw everything that it could do, and we were
Hmm.
trusting God to do more with it. And that's what it was. That's how you separate your mindset from your actual circumstance.
Yeah, that's so powerful
Yeah.
because ultimately you're choosing to live like an adopted son and daughter,
Yes.
even though your bank
Yes.
account says you've been orphaned, you've
Mm-hmm.
been left alone, and you're going to have to strive and make this happen for yourself. But when you, regardless of the circumstances in your life, when your mindset is set, when your eyes are set on the truth,
Yeah.
it makes all the difference, right? And you're
Mm-hmm.
operating from thankfulness and benevolence, and you just can't get outgive God, right? Which I think my husband
Absolutely.
says once a week to me.
Absolutely.
Outgive God.
Mm-hmm.
He's a very generous person. If anybody has struggled with financial mindsets, it's me. Like we've lived, I mean, I, came from poverty, like just my mom, single mom, and working to keep the roof over our heads. And I was mostly alone. And so I just knew that we didn't really have enough, but I didn't know what that meant because I never really left the little, the area I left. I didn't know people had bigger houses.
Yeah.
I didn't
Yeah.
know there were houses with basements and more than one bathroom. I didn't know
Oh
people live like
man.
that,
Oh man. Oh
you
yeah.
know. And then I met my husband and met the Lord and then met my husband, and both of them kind of rocked my world and changing my mindset around
Mm-hmm.
giving and being benevolent and trusting. And I do wish that I had had financial coaching before I was married, just as a young woman. If I had had somebody help reframe that mindset back then,
Yeah.
before getting married, because then it changes and you bring into marriage all your stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And you're either coming with baggage or luggage.
Oh yeah.
One is either full of stuff that somebody's now got to deal with, or one is empty and it's just luggage ready to carry some good stuff.
Right, right.
And money can be some real baggage, that money mindset. So I appreciate the direction you're going, and I love the Dave Ramsey stuff. You got trained as a coach through
Yes.
Dave Ramsey Financial Peace University, right?
Yeah, they have a master training for financial coaches. Yeah.
So now you're doing the greenhouse because you want to take that and explore outside of the finance. You want to kind of connect that to life coaching, mindset,
Yes.
and marriage and family and legacy, right? So talk a
Yes.
little bit more about how that journey and moving the direction from talking about money to talking about the mind and the heart and the marriage.
I mean, it all everything you do starts in your mind. The battlefield is in your mind. If you want to change any type of habit, you have to rewire your brain and where your mind is, and this is more than behavior modification. Anybody can say, oh, spend less than you make, and have this percentage here, have this percentage. But if we don't know why we're doing what we did, then it's going to be an ongoing battle trying to do all of those things that we want to do. So yeah, just looking at mindset and life coaching. Man, I didn't even know what life coaching was. I remember I was a youth leader back in the day. I'm a youth pastor and worship pastor now, but when I was volunteering back in the day, there was a youth leader training, and one of the icebreakers were, hey, if you could have any job that you want, money's not an issue, what would you want to do? And before I even knew what this was, I was like, you know what? I would want to just sit with people and help them get to the next step in life. Like just go to a cafe and have some coffee with people and have them share, their life and and hopefully God will use me to just get them to their next step. And I didn't even know that that was called a life coach back then.
Yeah.
So going into this season, I was like, okay, I'm 35 right now. The last couple of years, I've been looking at, what do I want to do for the rest of my life? I'm like looking at this as like my halftime, restructuring, re-strategizing. And I remember I said that, and I'm like, man, yeah, that's what I want to do. So I started looking up, okay, life coaching, Christian life coaching. Oh, what's this podcast here? Christian Life Coach Collective.
Nice.
So I started listening to this podcast, and lo and behold, she has a course coming up. Okay, yes, sign me up. I'm there. So here I am, and it's been amazing, everything that I've been learning, everything that I've been able to experience, the people that I'm working with. It's a bunch of light bulb moments that I love,
I love
absolutely
that.
love. Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, this has been an amazing experience, and I'm glad that we got a few more weeks of it. So
Me too. I
yeah.
know. So what would you say some of the greatest fruits from inside of the greenhouse has been for you so far between your coaching practice and starting an online business?
Man, the greatest things is just the people that I've gotten to meet, and just getting that practice of life coaching. Like before this, I didn't know what it even looked like. I knew it was possible for the last couple of years. I knew that life coaching was a thing. But before this course, I never experienced it. So being able to learn these tools and actually apply them right away, with other people that are learning as well, and then you being able to get coached on these tools, it's been a transformative experience just for my life rather than just my business. You know what I mean? That's been the greatest things that I've taken out of these 6-7 weeks we've been in it.
That's so good.
Yeah.
Well, yay. That's what I wanted.
Yes, there you go,
I
Laura.
wanted you to get the tools, but I wanted you to actually like put it into practice. And I think that's one of the hardest things for people who want to become a coach is actually experiencing coaching. Because if
Mm-hmm.
you don't really know where to start, you don't know what to say, and you don't know how to ask somebody if they would let you practice, you
Yes.
know. And so being in a course together, you're put kind of under the pressure of like a deadline. No, this is what you signed up and committed to do. Like now you're gonna practice. And like, what?
Oh yeah, and I've been feeling that pressure, Laura. I've been feeling that pressure. But it's good pressure.
It is because it's an external expectation. It's
Yeah.
accountability. And that's what
Mm-hmm.
like being in a course is all about because people are waiting on you and it makes you do things you won't do for yourself. Even though you say you want them, you know they're good for you. It's different. Very few people actually go do it for themselves.
Yep.
And most of us will show up because somebody, even though you're the one that invested in the course, you're investing in yourself. You
Mm-hmm.
signed yourself up to let other people keep accountability and like put deadlines on you.
Yeah.
You're the
Yeah.
one that chose it, but it really is helpful to have somebody say, like, this is where we're going, this is what we're doing, this is the next step.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, in discovering, like you said, I want to help somebody go from one step to another.
Yeah.
And like that's my favorite part is just say, like, I'm going to show you what the next step is. Right. Or
Mm.
I'm going to take that next step with you. Let's all go together. And there's just really something you're kind of, especially when you're just belonging to a group of people who are like directed, taking the same
Mm-hmm.
steps. And you get that peer to peer help and encouragement and connection is, I don't know, it's just so valuable to me.
Yeah. One of the biggest things that I've noticed is just the accountability. The accountability, like everything that I've experienced, like having you ask and follow up with me, hey, have you looked at this, hey, have you looked at that, and even the coaches training each other and coaching each other, us holding each other accountable to what we're doing and what we've committed to. That's probably one of the most valuable things, because you don't have that by yourself,
Right.
you
And when
know.
you're a solopreneur, you're trying to like,
Yeah.
it's really, there's so many things that you have to show up for on your own now, because you're not clocking in and nobody's telling you you have to get this done by the end of the day. And it's just a harder thing to hold yourself to
Yeah.
and actually follow through and finish well. So just having a group of people is really a great way to put yourself into a position where you get more done and you practice, you have tools to practice. And so that said, like, what's your favorite tool or training so far?
Oh
Now,
man,
don't give
that
them all up. Just,
I
just tell me
won't.
what it
I won't. I won't. I
Don't give it
mean,
away.
it's one that you've talked about on your podcast a lot. So,
Yeah. Which was
but
that?
that pearl practice,
Yeah.
that tool goes deep.
Yeah.
It goes deep. Every time I've used it, like I'd say, I'd say about 60% of the times that I've used that pearl practice, tears have flown.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Tears have
definitely
gone, man.
we're
It
gonna get
goes
to the
deep.
root of that.
Yeah, it
Do
goes
you have
deep,
your
man.
tissues handy?
Right, right. And that's
Yeah.
when you know, that's when you know the real work is happening, man.
Well,
So
it's, I
going
think
through that
you're talking about
barrier.
earlier, behavior modification is just not the same as behavior transformation.
Oh
You can
yeah.
just sit all day long and do self-help and self-development, but really the Bible doesn't call us to sit and stay and dwell in ourself.
Yep.
It says actually let the self die and let
Mm-hmm.
Christ live in us, right? And so we need to go to
Absolutely.
that place of our original design is like that spirit, that new birth in us, that spirit life when we move into that transformation and those moments inside of coaching. And I think the pearl practice, when the Lord gave me that, I knew that that was like a spiritual practice that the Lord was giving me for my
Absolutely.
life,
Yeah.
and he is like, no, this is a spiritual practice. This isn't about your soul. This is the old pearl is about how your soul's been living. But the new pearl is about how the Spirit of God, Emmanuel inside of us, wants to rise up and write the story. It's about that
Mm.
legacy. And it's about the paradigm and setting your eyes on Him and living from the truth. And it's an alignment tool.
Yeah.
So I agree with you. I would say most of the time there's tears involved. And I do it daily. I know I've said that on the podcast. I just keep my post-its and I'm like, oh, that triggered me, or that one's not good, or I need to get out of that thought process, or it doesn't feel good. I'm not doing something, blah, 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 blah. I just pearl it. And it's just constantly like my way of realign with the truth and the will of God. And I love it.
Yeah.
So I agree with you. I love being able to practice that with each other in the group and walk it out and actually letting it use um helping other tools work better.
Mm-hmm.
Pairing it with other tools and strategies is really, really great. So I think there was something that you said you could use a little bit of live coaching on, and it was something about being able to how to help clients kind of open up.
Yeah, and just the initial touch, like just getting through to somebody I don't have a relationship with, and but I want to help, you
Mm-hmm.
know. Like I said, like with finances, there can be a lot of shame attached to it. It's one of those taboo things, like you don't talk about politics, you don't talk about sex, you don't talk about money, you
Right.
know. um and but that's what keeps people down. That's what
Yeah.
keep people abandoned and siloed and stuck in their
Mhm.
habits and stuck in their mindsets. But like I would like to, maybe some tools or some strategies to just break through that ice, to try to get through to people so that I can help as many people as I can.
Right. So I think of two things while you're saying that. And first of all, I think of a curiosity conversation first and foremost. So when you meet somebody and you see like, I know a little bit about them, I'd love to be able to help them, but I don't really know. them well enough to have a right to speak into their life in this area. Such a
Mm-hmm.
deep topic, which is, like you said, a little bit more of a cold lead, not a warm lead. A warm lead would be somebody who you know that they have an interest in financial coaching, or you know that they're pursuing to get debt free or
Yeah.
consolidate or manage their money. If you already know that about them, like you said in Dave Ramsey's courses, and if they're already there, you know that they're already on that path. And so
Yeah.
it's easy to introduce what you offer. But if you don't know them pursuing that, how do you open up the conversation? And one thing I would like to just kind of shift for you is,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to having, hey, hi, I'm a financial coach. I can change your mindset. Your life will be different if you work with me. This is so awkward, right? If
Yeah.
you try to feel like you're, especially as believers that want to be like authentic and honest, it feels scammy. It feels kind of weird and awkward to like go after somebody and win them,
Mm-hmm.
right? Especially when you don't
Right.
really know
Right.
them very well. But I offer up the reframing of the conversation. How could you get them curious? So where they do actually pursue more information from you, you know? So that might be like me saying, hey, Torrance, so good to see you again. I think, remember we met a couple months ago. Yeah, yeah. Tell me what you do again. And you give it a little something. And then if you were to say, well, what do you do, Laura? I would say, you know how some people just struggle to know what is next in life? I help them with that.
Mm. Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
so it opens up a little bit of curiosity. Like, what do you mean by that? I now have permission to tell them. They have asked me to give information about what it's like to help somebody find the next step in life, right?
Mm.
So
Okay.
instead of throwing something nobody asked for on them and then being rejected and devastated that they didn't pick up what you laid down,
Mm-hmm.
you're like, open up, find ways to naturally open the conversation up to them asking you questions, and
Mm.
frame your conversation, frame your statements and your questions so that they can ask you more questions and become more interested in what you offer, which gives you permission to share more. Does that make
Got
sense?
it. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
It's so much better than trying to like, okay, that whole elevator pitch thing.
Yeah, nobody wants to get sold, man.
uh,
That's
Please, that's why I love CarMax. I do not get paid for this commercial, but
right.
nobody comes and asks me like, nobody tries to sell me anything. I just say like, yeah, I'll come get you when I need you.
Right. There you
Until
go.
then, leave me alone.
Mm-hmm.
Where's the keys? So,
Right.
um, okay. The other thing is, as opposed to expecting somebody to just come to you and suddenly open up about their money mindset and their shame and the hard stuff and the circumstances and the lack, um, what what do you have to offer them by way of the opposite, where you're looking not at their challenge, but you're looking at their desire?
Mm.
So could you approach it more from a hopeful financial future conversation, and approach it so that you are letting people know, again, like, hey, you know how some people just don't know what their financial future looks like? I help them with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And then instead of saying, you know how people struggle with shame about their money mindset and their bad spending habits? I help them with that. You could do that, but
Mm-hmm.
you're going to have to feel that out. And, is it the right person to say that to? Is that the right way? Is it feel good to you to go that direction and bring the struggle up, the challenge up first? But if you're struggling to get people to respond to that, what if you talk about the results, the thing they most desire? You know how people don't know the answer to their financial future? They don't, um, they want a plan. They want this, put it more in the positive as opposed to what they don't have,
Mm-hmm.
send it to, Hey, you know how people really long for hope around their financial legacy and what their children are going to get from them, passed down, not just money, but mindset? I help with that.
Hmm. Yeah.
Is that anything you have like, do you have use for any of that? Is that something that you're looking for? You know? So the other thing is, what would you have liked to hear? How could somebody have gotten your attention without putting you in a shame mindset or dredging something that triggers you up? What could somebody have said to you years ago that would have invited you? What kind of language would that have been? What would you have responded to personally? Because that probably is where some of your ideal clients are.
Yeah.
And it would feel more authentic coming from you because you've been there.
Yeah. I mean, me, part like a big part of my identity is my family. I mean, my business is called Douse House. My family identity, we call ourselves the Douse House. Um, so 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 what perks me up is if you come to me talk about family and um generational wealth, generational financial future, that's what perks me up, you know. So just making sure that, you know, I know everything that I can do right now with what I have, all the tools that are available to me in terms of insurances and the way that I can save, a will. A lot of people don't talk about will, you
Mm-hmm.
know. But it's something that is needed, and it's super easy to do, but people just don't have that mindset, you know.
Right.
um but yeah, things like that. But the thing that's getting like forced down our throats is, you know, start another business, entrepreneurship, and financial independence, retire early, things like that. But all of that is so outward focus. It's not looking at yourself. It's not looking at where you are right now. So what I would suggest is, hey, let's look at where you are right now, and what's the picture, right? What's the picture where you want to be, where you want your family to be, your kids that you have right now. Where do you want them to be, and what's the next step to get there? You know, so if somebody would have came to me like that
Yeah.
years ago, oh yeah, sign me up, you
Right.
know. So yeah, and I was very fortunate to be able to have a tool like the Dave Ramsey Financial Peace University, because when I was going through that, I mean, I took it 3 times as a student, and then I got trained as a course, as a coach.
You're
Um,
a lifelong learner.
yes, yes, yes. So yeah, like when I was taking that course, that was the course that was telling me all the tools that are available to me. So I started thinking about, okay, college tuition for my kids, even though I didn't even have kids yet. You know, what do I want to do? What's the route that I want to take? Life insurance, things like that. What is that? How can I use that? You
Yeah.
know, so people don't know what they don't know, and that's why they need somebody to have another set of eyes on their situation to really point out, hey, there's an opportunity here that you
Mm-hmm.
can take advantage of. But your mindset hasn't looked at it, hasn't even seen it, because you just didn't know, or
Right.
you've been conditioned to look away.
So
So,
good.
yeah.
Yeah, especially if your mindset is that this is a shameful situation or topic,
Oh yeah.
you know,
When it
and
when
that,
it when it comes to debt, oh my goodness, man.
right.
I've seen so much shame that just weighs people down over
Yeah.
debt.
And there, that big difference between guilt and shame. Guilt says you
Mm,
did something wrong, but Jesus says, all right, repent. End of story. East,
right.
west, you know,
Mm-hmm.
like that's guilt. Yes, you did something that wasn't great or it was just wrong. And there's repentance and there's salvation, there's forgiveness.
Yes.
But shame says you are wrong.
Mm,
Shame says that is actually your identity. Shame is underlying and it loves to make you afraid to let it be seen. It, shame breeds in the root system Whereas guilt, that's actually just like in the courtroom of heaven. Are you guilty? Yes. Yes, we all are.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I got this good lawyer named Jesus. But shame doesn't even go in the courtroom. Shame is like, no, we're not even going to go in there and talk about the guilt and be forgiven our debt.
Yeah.
Because shame just wants to dig in and keep you isolated.
It's enough to kill you.
It is.
Like literally, if you look at statistics of suicides, financial shame is up there.
Yeah. And that's been a pretty big thing for millennia. Whatever. I don't know, I don't even, what's a millennium? Is that 1,000 years?
1,000, yep.
Okay. It's always been around,
Yeah.
family, cultural shame, financial shame. And so I love that you're wanting to set people free, not just give them tools about their finances, but you're wanting them to find financial freedom, not in the way that a lot of stuff out there in our culture right now wants to offer you financial freedom by, like you said, retiring early and working really hard and hustling to make more money now.
Yeah.
They're calling that freedom.
And they're focusing on a number. Like you got to make this amount of money to be financially free, but that's not true.
Right. You're looking at the financial freedom in your mind,
in your mind, heart,
yep. Your spirit is free. Like you are operating differently. You're operating with an adopted mindset, an abundance, benevolent mindset, and you're thinking about other generations and not just yourself.
Absolutely.
And so you're bringing all of the tools plus the truth together. And I love that. So I'm going to let you go. And I want you just to give Samantha and Sophie and Izzy and TJ my love. And
yes.
I'm going to link everything in the show notes where people can find you at thedousehouse.com.
Yeah,
and if anybody does want to get some financial future coaching, they can find you there. And
yes,
also they can jump into the greenhouse training and be a certified life coach by the end of this year. If they
sign up now. Sign up now.
And let's get to it. That's exciting. So I've loved having you on the course. Thanks for being on the podcast. And I'm going to see you soon.
All right. See ya.
Hey, thanks for listening. And I would love it if you could leave me a review wherever you listen to this podcast and tell me what you're loving about it. It helps other people who are looking for transformation and change and growth in their lives find me. And if you want to learn about becoming a coach with any of your superpowers, head over to sterlingandstonementoring.com and check out the Greenhouse course. See you there.